who, as you know, is a sexologist. I promised this to you for Valentine's Day, so we're going to be talking all about sex. And I must tell you that both of our partners are sitting on the side drinking wine. Yes, they are. Can you believe this is wine and sex tonight? There's no chocolate, but we should have had that too.
Oh, darn, I forgot it.
Anyway, few announcements before we get started. I don't want you to be shy. I want you to call us at 602-875-0444 because what we're talking about tonight is how spirituality and sexuality kind of combine together or mirror each other, and Duffy has all the answers that you need to know about that. And she's been doing a lot of research. She's got so much information, it's not even funny. So we want to get all the information from her that we can. I want to remind you that on March 26th at Storm Wisdom, I'm going to be with Dr. Emil Faith. We are going to both be doing readings. So that is going to be awesome. We will both be doing readings, and we will both be doing a little bit of workshop work. And that is Saturday, March 26th at Storm Wisdom. And then, I'm going to be in Vegas on April 27th through the 30th. I'm actually doing a night of readings in Las Vegas at a country club there. And then I'm going to do a few days of reading, so absolutely jump on my website to see that. And then in June, we're going back to LA, 2 days in LA, 2 days in Laguna, and 2 days in San Diego. So without further ado, I want to introduce my dearest friend and my soul sister, Dr. Duffy McMahon.
Nice to be with you. Always fun.
This is going to be so much fun, Duffy.
Oh, I know, because we were always talking about Valentine's Day, which is actually my least favorite holiday.
Is it your least favorite?
Yeah.
Well, listen, hey, angels, I got what I asked for, so it's my most favorite holiday right now.
Did Billy get what he asked for?
Well, every day.
Now, that's the important thing, as long as it's every day. I think my reason I don't like Valentine's Day is because people think, oh, it turns most housewives into whores. So, is that, oh, get me candy and get me flowers and get me jewelry and so forth, and then you'll be able to get something from me.
Well, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Why, having that kind of intimate connection is the glue that keeps people together. Because as you know, Duffy, I work with people in grief all the time, and unfortunately, a big bulk of my business is people who have lost children. And what I find is when you lose a child, you're often breaking up because you grieve differently. But with couples who stay intimately connected, their grief process kind of ebbs and flows together because they've had that shared intimacy for so long that they also know how to share grief. So
that's extremely important when it comes to losing a family member, especially a child. It's very, very hard. Your chakra, your lower chakra is not only for your grounding, but it's also your spiritual center. It's also your sexual center. And so when you're able to bring that together and with your partner and be able to keep it together, and it's not a matter of saying, okay, well, it's fine. Now all of a sudden I'm bored. We've been married for this long, and it's not what it used to be. People grow apart, and so that when tragedies do happen, they don't know how to get back together in order to rebond to help each other heal. So that's why that intimacy is so important.
Right. Those three lower body chakras, the root chakra where you feel at home in the world in your body, your solar plexus chakra is your sexual chakra as well as your creative chakra, and where your soul resides right there. In your solar plexus. When people are getting too involved in spirituality, they neglect those chakras, and so they're not anchored.
Well, we actually think that spirituality and sexuality are separate, and we kind of grew up that way. One of the aspects of who we are sexual creatures, and we need to be sexual creatures because it helps us bond, it helps us procreate, it helps us stay together, it helps us be human. We need to be able to have our orgasms almost on a daily basis because it releases that pent-up energy. I used to laugh when people would say, oh, my wife always complains about having a headache. Well, the best thing you can do for a headache is have sex.
That's right. Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, even
Yeah.
says that for migraines,
Right.
really.
Yeah, it's one of the best things that you can do. It may not feel like it at the time, but I got to tell you, once you get going, you're not going to have a headache anymore, and you're not going to feel bad. It is going to, it, just having a sense of an orgasm, just the pleasure. But we need to learn about sex is that sex is beyond just having intercourse. Sex is touching, is cuddling, is kissing, is massaging. It is the gamut of sensuality. It's smell, touch, taste, hearing, talking. People say, "Oh, I hate it when they talk during sex." Why? That's part of it. That's part of who we are. If you can't say this feels good or this doesn't feel good, then there's a problem. You need to be able to tell your partner, "Oh, I really like that. This is really wonderful." In fact, there's a classes that they do called OHMING, OHMING, and it's basically teaching men how to um, fondle a woman's clitoris so he can get to know her body, because we don't teach men about a female body and we don't teach a lot of women about a male body. So we don't know the sensual sexual areas that really, really can help them with all of the sexuality, maintaining an orgasm. Most men don't know that they can have an orgasm or climax without ejaculation, and they think I'm nuts when I tell them that. No, same thing.
So, so a sexologist is, a lot of people, I'm sure, make jokes and tease you and your husband
Yes,
about
right. Yes.
this career, but a sexologist is really somebody that's more of an educator and a teacher. A lot of times people think a sexologist means, show and tell. I think it's more tell and tell, isn't it?
It's more tell and tell. It's more really getting to learn about yourself. We talk a lot about body images and having you feel comfortable with who you are. So that whenever you're in a relationship, you don't want to cover yourself up. You want to be as open and as intimate as you can. So when you talk about what is a sexologist, we deal with everything within human sexuality. And it's everything from BDSM to fetishes to toys.
Does that make
sex.
people weird when they have fetishes or BDSM? And does that, because there's, I mean, now that, 50 Shades of Grey has come out, I think that that's more out of the, closet, so to speak. But so, does that make people weird? Like if,
they feel that way. The problem is how you feel about yourself. Even regular sex. We grew up. We still have the same Victorian dogma that I was raised with, you were raised with, about what sex is, what is good, what isn't bad. When to talk to your kids about sex, touching yourself. Believe me, masturbation is still considered a sin, and is still considered something that can cause a man not to be able to get an erection. If he masturbates too much, that's not going to happen. Not true. But it's come down through the centuries of this is how we have to think about sex. We went through a long, long period of time when women weren't supposed to like sex. So when women did, they thought something was wrong. We go back to talking about what sex is. And we have to say there's a difference between what sex is and what power is. So when we talk about people that have been raped, rape has nothing to do with sex. It only has to do with power. And so when you talk molestation too. And the problem with molestation, especially child molestation, is that the child will feel guilty because they will get a feeling of excitement. So they think that they are the cause of it, and they're not. So they have to get over it.
Becomes such a double-edged
sword.
sword.
Yeah, it really is. And so then they end up having body issues. They end up thinking there's something wrong with them. And so we've put so much restrictions on ourselves. And then we're taught that, well, sex is only for procreation. Sex is bad, is evil, is shameful, and is sinful. It isn't. And that's what we have to understand, that sex is a part of who we are. It's a part of our core being. So if we teach how to have sex, most of the fetishes come about, or the BDSM comes about because of childhood traumas. So,
could you talk a little bit more about that? Like, what do you mean? Like, we're talking about molestation. We're talking about, like molestation is my area of expertise as a hypnotherapist. I have special certifications in it. And I've worked a lot with dancers, and most dancers have been molested, and they're dancing to get their sexual power back, and not recognizing that's what's coming from the unconscious or the subconscious mind. And from a spiritual level, we have to look at that and find out how is that part of our karmic profile. Like, what are we supposed to empower ourselves in some form or fashion through that kind of energy and so on. But can you talk a little bit more about what childhood trauma does and how it creates fetishes or that kind of thing?
Okay. Example, a young boy gets in trouble for masturbating by his mom, ashamed, is all kinds of things. So he goes in the closet and he masturbates. He sees mom's shoes. So all of a sudden, the shoes all of a sudden become a fetish, so that whenever he wants to have sex as he gets older, he wants his paramours, his girls, or whoever it is, to wear the high heels or flats or whatever it happens to be, or whatever is a fur coat, something that he sees when he is getting himself off becomes shameful, and that's what he needs in order to be able to have a climax, because of the fact that that was his frame of reference.
I see. So it's kind of like an association of something
the young man that started watching. There was a wonderful Time magazine article last April, I think it was, talking about porn on the internet, starting to watch it whenever they are 13 years old, and they started watching variety, harder and harder pornography. And when all of a sudden they're starting to date, they don't know how to be real with the person. They think what that they are seeing is real sex. It isn't. Nobody is built that way. No woman is waiting for the delivery boy to come in to have sex with them. All of it is fantasies. When you think that fantasies are real, that becomes a problem. If you think that's what you need to be able to have a relationship. So these young kids are now in their 20s having erectile dysfunction because they're with somebody real. Well, they don't look like the person that is in the movies. They don't have the same body. They don't have the same size penis. They don't have all these different things. So they feel inferior. So what they end up doing...
That goes to women too,
though. It goes to women too, especially.
That contributes to body images when women aren't. Because there's an awful lot of young girls that get boob jobs these days, right? Because they've got this idea that if you're boobalicious, that means that you're...
Well, now they're actually thank the Kardashians, you're now having butt surgery. Thank God for plastic surgery. Let's get your butt enhanced. I don't want the butt enhanced.
How does collective consciousness, though? Like, I want to go back for a minute to the fetish with, the fur coat and the high heels and all that. Isn't there a lot of collective consciousness energy around that? Like, isn't that part of what we see in our advertising?
Oh my gosh,
isn't that part of what we see in movies and all of that kind of stuff?
That's also our body image. Most people think that sex has to be semi-violent. They don't realize that yes, it can be exciting, it can be I won't say tumultuous, but it can be exciting, it can be there's a word I'm looking for, it's not coming to me, but it doesn't have to be violent. It's not violent. It's you don't just all of a sudden go into a find somebody and you meet them and you go into the elevator it's like coming together, that
me Tarzan, you Jane kind of thing.
But that's also you see it. Let's go back to into the elevator. They just meet, they have a drink, they think they're very attracted to each other, and as soon as they get in the elevator, they are just
And then she comes to his house and boils a bunny.
Yeah, well, she hadn't had dinner that night. It was just a lot of things going on.
Because, I do think that, just like any other time in life that certain people get triggered out in collective conscious from what they learned as children and so on. I started to read 50 Shades of Grey, and I actually, to be perfectly honest with you, Duffy, found it boring. So I read about 3 chapters of it, and then I wrote on my Facebook, I'm reading 50 Shades of Grey, but put it down. How much sex can one person read? And somebody wrote under my Facebook, I'll let you know.
I read 50 Shades of Grey, and like I said, it was really BDSM light, because when you find out or get involved or talk to people involved in BDSM, it is a lot more intense than was let on in the book. But when you talk about the collective consciousness, again, when it comes to sexuality, it's a sense of being with somebody. We talk about monogamy. We have a number of serial monogamists. Pat was talking to me today. Pat's my husband, by the way. He was talking to me about Susan Sarandon, saying that she doesn't really get married, but she's had a lot of monogamous relationships for time being.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is that we think marriage is normal because that's what we've been taught. Monogamy is a choice. It's a great choice. I'm monogamous. I've been married for 33 years. But there are those people that are so bored in their marriage, they don't have a sense of coming together. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to communicate. And it goes to what I'm talking about, talking during sex. So in talking during sex, you say, okay, fine, honey, this feels really good. Could you do this? Well, what about doing some role playing? What about, dressing up and playing like you're a stranger at a bar and doing something that's going to be, more fun? Sex is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be intimate. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be sensual. It's supposed to be...
Sometimes it's just comfort, though, too, right?
Sure.
Sometimes it's just relaxation. There's all different parts. It's not just the joy of sex. It can be the comfort. I think it's different every time.
It all goes together, however you want it to be. If you are feeling really tired, but you don't want to have intercourse, you go home and you want your significant other to say, okay, let me just hold you. That's part of sex. Or just rub your shoulders, or just do that. That's all a part of that sensual bonding.
Mm-hmm.
We forget about that. It's tougher after you've had kids, because having kids presents problems. Once a young lady has her child, 2 things happen. The husband's kind of forgot about for the longest time, and we didn't teach husbands to bond with their child before. We do now. We now say, okay, we want you to be able to, bare skin to bare skin, to have your child there so your child can bond with the father just as much as it does with the mother. Mm-hmm. It gives the father a chance to have that feeling, and that's another type of a bond within the family unit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because our society has changed so much over the centuries, we don't have the same units. We don't have the same family units. We don't have the same communities. All that has changed. Not to mention the fact that we are living, twice as long. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about monogamy, it used to be you may be married for maybe 15 to 20 years. We talk about young people having sex. We forget about the fact that they got married when they were 15 at that time. As soon as they reached puberty and so forth, they were almost getting ready to get married and go off and have their families, because that was the time, and we are now living so much longer. So we're not used to being with somebody that long either, so mm-hmm. that makes it a little tougher.
It's interesting. I had this couple that came to see me once. They were in their 80s, mm-hmm. and they lost their son. He was in his 60s. Mm-hmm. He'd had a heart attack, and they both came to talk, and I could see physically, energetically, the intimacy between them. Mm-hmm. And I asked them, what's your secret? What is the secret of your intimacy? And they giggled. And he said, should we tell her? And she said, well, go ahead, tell her, right? And he said, we took a bath together every night for over 65 years. We'd get a glass of wine, we'd sit in the tub, and we'd talk about our day after the kids went to bed. And she chimed in and said, well, yeah, it's awful hard to be mad at somebody naked.
That's true.
And so here they were having this intimate connection for all those years.
Right.
And that made their marriage stay. Because a lot of times clients will say to me, well, I love that person, but I'm not in love with that person. Which just, kind of is.
Well, it basically depends on age too. It's a matter, again, we have the attention spans of gnats, and we like diversity. We like something new all the time. So you get into a relationship, and you're automatically in love. Oh, isn't this wonderful? I've met the person of my dreams. He's my soulmate. He's this. And then we agree on everything. And of course, I used to say, what happens when you don't agree? Because that is what happens. We get married in this state of euphoria. And then it takes about 2.5 to 3 years to find out it's not as euphoric as we thought it was. And all those wonderful little things that we thought were so cute start to literally bug the living daylights out of us. And so we don't then work on it. We figure, I don't want to put up with this. I need something new and different because I got to, we're the me generations and societies. I want to take care of me, and I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to really work on things. And so you don't see a lot of people really working on relationships and being honest. Can you imagine saying to your husband after 20 years, honey, I really love you, but you're not satisfying me in this area? That would probably cause a huge fight because he's hurt or she's hurt. He says the same thing to her. I'm no longer attracted to you. You put on weight. You've done this. We don't know how to be honest with each other. And so if that is a problem and that is something you can work out, fine. But if it's something you can't work out, it's never going to be the same. You can't force that to happen. So you end up having the polyamorous societies and the open marriages and whatever happens to be out there. And there's the swingers, they're still trying to find some sort of connection, either with their significant other or with society.
Aren't they trying to find a connection with themselves?
Most of them are. I think the biggest problem we have is finding that connection of being okay with ourselves.
Because, from a spiritual perspective, my understanding from Spirit is that all relationships serve as a way to get to know and love self. So that's why the in love thing is so important, because we're seeing ourselves through the eyes of somebody that's in love. And so it's a false sense of self. And those people who can't really find that inner love for self are always looking for that right person, whether it be through polyamory or serial monogamy or whatever it is, because they haven't found themselves. So that's how sexuality and spirituality kind of work, because the couple that perhaps has been together for a long time and don't know how to oil the machine.
Nice way to put it.
If they love themselves as much as they love each other, they can probably work that out because they won't get into that defensive mode. Would that be a fair statement?
Pretty much true, yes. We all have to love ourselves first. We really do. And especially when it comes to any type of sex, because then you can say, sweetie, this is what I really need from you. And if he honors that, that's the best thing that you can have. If he doesn't honor that, that's where the problems begin. And when the problem, what I see is that people don't honor each other.
Do you know that I find, Duffy, in my practice, that it's usually the men that use sex as a source of punishment, withholding sex as a source of punishment rather than the women. And we're kind of taught in society it's the woman that says, honey, not now, I have a headache. But I find in my practice that it's the men who stop and pull back. Why do you think that is?
A lot of times you have to go back to the sense of self. Men have been told that we are wicked from the time the church and before, that we have this power over them and that they have to please us. And if they think that they aren't pleasing us or aren't able to please us, that that causes mind games in their head. So it's easier to pull back, especially if they're not happy with you. It's hard for a man, if he's upset with his spouse, for him to be able to get an erection. You have to understand, part of getting an erection is being relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can't relax and enjoy your company, or if he is upset that you have said whatever and he's angry, he's not going to be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest problem we've got.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at the big problem we have now with erectile dysfunction. Most urologists will tell you between 75 to 85% of those that go to urologists for that have no physical or medical problems, but they're afraid, especially since women have been on the pill, and are able to take care of their own bodies, don't have to worry about getting pregnant. They're afraid that they can't satisfy. They're afraid that they can't.
But isn't there? Hey everybody, I got Christina holding up a sign and telling me, call in with your questions, 602-875-0444. But isn't there, like, having been a woman that's gone through menopause, I'm very attracted to my partner, but there is a physical aspect to that can be a contributing factor to a smooth sailing. So I'm
a big one for lotions, potions, and toys.
And that's exactly what we do, is lotions and potions and all of that kind of stuff because of you. And I do have to say this to our viewing audience. At first, when Duffy first got into this field, it was a little uncomfortable as she
as direct as I am.
We have been friends for a very, very long time. In fact, we're more than friends. We're family. We my grandchild calls her and her husband Nana and Papa. They're family. But because she's been so free at discussing everything, I've been freer in my own connection, which has been really great for me. So, I do want questions to come in because I think that's really important. But we do use, back to my point, lotions and potions. But isn't it true that a man, too, then has, as he ages, some issues in that regard? And should he be embarrassed if he needs to use a pill?
No, he should not be embarrassed if he needs to use a pill, but find out exactly what's going on. One of the things that you can do to help out your significant other is figure out is using massage. There's areas on the body for men that are just absolutely amazing. There's an area, it's the perineum, it's between the anus and the testicles. If you start massaging that and get them to relax, even without a pill, they can get an erection. It's amazing. So,
but women have to be willing.
Women
to
have
do that
to be willing,
because they're very restrictive often in that regard.
Well, women have problems with oral sex or anal sex or any other type of sex, and you don't have to like them. And you can say,
that's what they call a divorcee, right? A born again oral sex person.
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That's true. Makes it all new and different.
So, because there are things that women do in the beginning that they don't do later, right?
Right.
Okay. So we have a phone call coming in. Very good. You want to transfer that for us?
Julie? Okay, one moment.
Julie? Okay, it's not come through quite yet. Hi, Julie. Just a minute. It's coming through now. Hi, Julie. How are you tonight?
Very good, thank you. My first time watching your webinar.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a really interesting subject to start out with, Julie.
Let's get down to it, right?
Let's get to it, Julie. Where are you calling from? Are you from the Phoenix area or from out of state?
From Scottsdale.
Very nice. And what's your question?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. What's your question for Dr. McMahon or for myself tonight?
Well, okay, so I've been with my husband, been married 30 years, been with him about 35 years, and I'm very attracted to him, and I love him very much. But when it comes to sex, I don't really, I can't even if I want to, I can't initialize it. I've been through menopause, and I love what is it called? The one drug that meant testosterone. It really just heightened my sexual desire. But even when I look at my husband and I really like to do it, I just can't initiate it.
Okay, why can't you? What is stopping you?
I don't know. I think we could probably talk for the next 3 days, right? But
something around her age of 6 or 7.
Were you molested as a child?
Pardon me?
Were you molested as a child?
No, but I was not molested, but I guess I can tell you I just have never had I've never really wanted men very much because I don't like how they treat women when it comes to sexualizing women. So, I think that has something to do with it. Because my husband had said to me years ago, I just want to have sex. I just want to do it, and I don't know.
Well, again, it's a matter of talking about it, and even talking with him. Sex is more than just, quote unquote, doing it. Sex is, and you should be able to initiate it as much as he can. Ironically,
he would fall over.
Well, start with little things, Julie. Yeah. Start with little things.
Yes,
start with kissing him on the neck. Start with grabbing him on the butt. Yes. Start with little things first, and then make it so that it's outside the bedroom, and so that you're initiating in a way in which it's easier for you. That kind of thing.
Do some fun little kidding around. Do some little sex talk. Just little flirting. Flirt with your husband. Go by and pinch his buttons, or just say, "Hey, honey, give me a hug. I need a hug from you." Do something that is totally out of your norm. Because what happens is you get caught into a rut, and so you're afraid to do anything. And that's the biggest thing you've got going is that fear. The fear is what's stopping you.
But don't you think if she takes it out of the bedroom and not initiates in the bedroom and starts making small steps at it?
Start. In fact, actually start out of. I agree with that. Start out of the bedroom. Start by having a glass of wine at night and sitting down, and then talking about the things that you like. Watch a movie that has some sex. Ask him how he sees that. Ask him about 50 Shades of Grey. Ask him about. Say, honey, why don't you come over and cuddle with me while we're watching a movie? And when you're cuddling with him, just rub his shoulders, rub his back, rub his neck, kiss him on the ear. Play with him, play with his hands, play with his knees, touch is incredibly important to both men and women. So touch them and just say,
well,
gee, honey, you feel good.
I'm very scared. Actually, because he's the kind of guy that would never step out of our marriage, but I'm just not a highly sexual person with another person. I love pleasure, but I don't really like it with other people very much. And I do thank you for, your input.
I'm going to ask you a favor. This is, I'm going to give you, can I have her call Izzy and leave a message? I'll call her.
Well, of course.
Okay.
Well, why don't you announce how to get a hold of you?
Because I haven't got my new number yet.
Oh, call Izzy at 480-755-0222 and leave your name and number, and then Duffy will call you back. But what I'm picking up on for you is right around your age of 5 or 6. And what I just heard you say is that you don't get pleasure with other people. Yet I also heard you say, I'm very attracted to my husband. I'm very in love with him. So what you have to do is find out within you and your subconscious mind why pleasure is a solitary activity for you. Like, what is it in your childhood that created that little turn in your subconscious mind? And if you can figure that out, and I'm, again, looking right at your kindergarten, first grade when I look at it psychically, if you can find that out, that'll help you make that shift. The other thing, darling, is I'm sure that your husband would be very pleased to observe you having pleasure by yourself. And that might be the way that you initiate. And so think about that, okay? And call for Duff, and she'll be happy to consult with you, okay?
May I ask, do you use a vibrator at all?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Like daily.
Yay.
I mean, especially since I'm the testosterone, since I've,
no,
that's testosterone. I'm dying.
Yeah, no,
but
that's good.
I have a big problem with intimacy, and since we're kind of trying to put spirituality.
Because you were told somewhere along the way you were told that pleasure is bad.
Well, you know what? My whole family were very highly sexual, and it was kind of gross. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was and I think as a child, I probably didn't like. I didn't like what I saw.
Okay. Did you not like what you saw, or did it embarrass you?
I don't probably embarrassed, but I just thought it was gross. My mom was very sexual. My whole family, all went out on their husbands and wives, and gosh, I lived with my cousin who would do 3 men a day. I mean, it was just like.
So you got a very, very abnormal sense of what sex was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, and when men goo over me or something, it doesn't. It offends me.
Has the opposite effect
on you,
right?
Yeah.
Maybe, honey, you should come in and do some hypnosis and clear some inner child issues. That'll take us about 4 to 6 sessions.
I buy the session practice with you. I just saw you last week.
Oh, so we're starting.
Yeah,
okay,
totally
good. Yay, girl. All right. Well, we're going to take our next caller, and I am in such honor that you are the first person brave enough to call us, and thank you so much. And
thank you. I should. Okay.
You did great. Okay, you too. Bye-bye. Okay, so again, I think just your point to childhood affecting how we are at our sexual level and what that all means.
If you have loving parents, then you watch them that are loving and hugging. I grew up with a very loving, hugging family, my mom and dad, and they also had sex up until their 80s. But they showed an ability to be able to have a friendship. They showed a way to be able to caress and to kiss and to play. That's what I grew up with. I've also known people that have had upbringings that were, let's say, less than real.
Sure, I never saw a man in his underwear till I got married. We got another caller?
Never.
No, I had no brothers, and my father was banished to his own kingdom, which was on the golf course. And you don't see underwear on the golf course.
Well, it depends.
Oh, what?
This is Debbie.
If it's Sun City, you do.
Debbie, how is Debbie tonight?
I am doing fine. How are you, ladies?
Oh, we're good, Debbie. So tell us what your question is and how you are and what can we do for you?
Oh, where to start? Okay, here we go. Okay. I guess my main question would be, since you so lovingly gave me the wonderful news that I wouldn't be able to partner until I was 55.
How dare you?
Wondering what I'm supposed to be doing in the meantime.
Oh boy, get some toys. Get some toys. No, you will meet lots of different things. But I'm a firm believer that I think toys are wonderful, and always say that every woman should have an orgasm a day because it just helps them mentally.
An orgasm a day keeps the doctor away. That's why she gave me a vibrator for my 60th birthday when I was single.
I did. What to get your best friend for her birthday,
When she turns 60, what do you get your best friend when she turns 60?
So no, you really should be able to make sure, if you can pleasure yourself, you can also learn to have others be able to pleasure you. Because now you know what you like, what you don't like.
Except,
that's not a problem. I'm not saying that it's, I don't take that the wrong way. Okay? But it's the intimacy part of it.
Of course.
There's, sex is just sex.
That's right.
Emotion, without feeling, without that intimacy.
That's
and
right.
That's not what's lacking.
That's right.
Even though I love sex, no doubt, I don't really want it without that intimacy, but yet I still want it.
Let me feel this for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to feel this for a minute, honey, because as you know, when you guys watch me, I've talked about being a serial monogamer. And I think that it wasn't until I learned how to be intimate with myself that I really learned how to have intimacy that was not intimacy that was forced with somebody else. And so take this time to intimately know yourself. I'm talking about the emotional intimacy of knowing who you are, what you really want in a partner, what your karmic profile is and has been, how you want to go about, connecting to yourself in all kinds of physical ways, and not just through orgasm, but through exercise or, health and wellness in some form or fashion. Like, take the time between now and when we see someone coming into your life to really become intimate with self. And, sometimes when we do that, the timeline does move forward. Like, someone can come in sooner because you're ready sooner by creating that level of intimacy with yourself, by really knowing who you are, by creating an intimate relationship with God, which most of us don't have at all and don't understand at all how to have an intimate relationship with God. It's a whole different thing. And that's why sexuality and spirituality are in the same category, because it's all about intimacy, all about self-esteem, all about self-awareness, all about using what God gave you as far as your higher power and connection with your body parts, all of those things combined. It's all about pleasure in a vacuum, so to speak. So I would say to you, Deb, that part of it is to learn to be intimate with yourself in all kinds of ways, physically, emotionally, spiritually, to get ready. And the sexual aspects, of course, using toys is great. But one of the dangers I think about using toys, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that you can get too used to an orgasm with a toy. So you might want to use your own hand, which, is something you don't want to get so accustomed to having an orgasm with a toy that you can't have it when there's a man.
One of the things that I know Mindy's going to get after me about is that I'm a firm believer in friends with benefits, especially if you're single. And because
I'm not going to get after you for that.
Okay.
I've had friends with benefits.
Okay.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, there's no reason to. You can have a guy to hang out with.
When I was single, a long time ago, that was who I was with the most because there was a connection. I was always one that would have a terrible time. I couldn't do a one night stand. That just wasn't me. But I had friends that I had still a friendship, a love friendship, and we would end up being together, and it was a wonderful intimacy. It was a wonderful fun time. We could do things, and we were very clear about what our boundaries were. We were very clear about that this really is just because we both could use it.
I think there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And certainly, Deb, if you have somebody that is a friend with fringe, that's perfectly fine until the right person comes along. The problem is with many people, mostly women, and I hate to make it all about our gender, but it's quite true that most women feel like they're nothing without a man, which is really, ridiculous. And a woman will take a friend with fringe and try to make it more, and then the man who's going into the relationship as the friend with fringe is blindsided because the woman is now wanting to have babies. So, they're you got to make sure that you as a woman know where you're at with a friend with a fringe too.
Yeah, but
I know where I am definitely know where I'm at with that, because I don't need a man to complete me. I am complete.
Good.
Finally, I am complete without a man. I don't necessarily. I do miss it, but not on the level that some people have to have a man in their life to actually feel good about life or anything like that. I've spent more time on my own than I have either married or in a solid relationship for years. And I'm better by myself now this time around because I've grown and because I'm making the changes. So that's why I was wondering how it all connects. How the dots all connected.
Well, you're connected. It sounds like you're connecting the dots just fine, sweetheart. Okay.
And by the way, until you meet that one person, you may meet a lot of other people in between, and being able to say, okay, we go out, we have a good time, and after a while you decide you want to have sex with them. It may not be the right one, but there's nothing wrong with that either. You're looking for that connection for you.
Right. Yeah, because it's not like I really don't want to just sit home and wait till the clock or the calendar pages turn and because
no, that would be really boring.
Like that. I'm finally feeling good enough about me that I am comfortable enough that I'm almost ready to say, "Hey, world, this is me."
Good.
Oh, please say it.
Good. Reasons.
There.
Remember this, Deb. Reason, season, lifetime. Right? There's a reason, there's a season, and then there's a lifetime. Okay. So okay. And so you take care of yourself, and it's really nice to talk to you. Okay.
You're doing awesome tonight. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. We appreciate your call, and you keep working on yourself and intimacy with you, and that right person's going to move up in time, and you can have an in the meantime. There's nothing wrong with an in the meantime.
No,
just don't make it more than it is.
But be sure to keep your own boundaries. If this isn't the right person, then let them know.
And for God's sakes, don't do what I do and marry the in the meantime. Thanks for calling, Deb. Have a good night, honey.
Have a good night.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Do we have another caller, Christina? Are we good? Well, that was fun. She sounds like a great fun
you're right.
person.
The biggest thing you have to do is find out who you are, and you have to really set your boundaries. It doesn't matter whether you're dating or whether you're married. Because
that's true.
You have to have your own. I love the whole thing saying we get married and all of a sudden two become one. No, they don't. Two stay two. Mm-hmm. Because you're still going to be two individuals that have two separate personalities, that have two different likes and dislikes. And what you do is you come together and you kind of meld and compromise on a lot of things in order to be able to have that bond and be able to have that intimacy. You have to understand where that person's coming from. Mm-hmm. You look at one of the reasons why you used to have a problem with different cultures marrying is because the cultures were so different that they had a hard time learning new aspects of what their partner was. He did things so totally different than what you grew up with. It was so hard for you, whether it be different religion or different culture. So,
could you speak on the Madonna whore complex?
Well, that comes with having children. You marry a whore because when you first get married, you are in love. Everything is just absolutely vivid and alive and sensual and sexual and exciting. And then what happens is that as you go along, especially if you have children, all of a sudden you are the mother of that guy's child, and he turns you into the Madonna. And so he has a hard time, and a lot of men have this. They have a hard time seeing you as that same young, attractive, vivacious, sexual being, because they have now turned you into the mother of their child, and they couldn't possibly have, exciting, unique, try new things sex because you're the mother of their child. So that's the big thing about the mother, the horror Madonna. and that normally happens after.
How can a woman who's experiencing that, if one of our young viewers is now the mother of a 7 and a 5-year-old, and he's not being as lusty as she would like him, and she's still craving that, and she's feeling rejected, how does she address that with her husband?
She sits down and talks to him, say, look, this is what goes on. Oh, and again, a lot of it is a combination of you're tired, you have a child that's 24/7, and if you're working, it's even worse. He's working, you're taking care of the child. So you let the time go by. You don't say what you need to say because, oh, I just don't have that kind of energy. And if you don't, it's going to continue on. So what you do, I've always told people, as soon as they have children, make sure you have one night a week that's yours. You go out, you have dinner, you go dancing, you go to a movie, you talk about your date night.
Critical.
Date night is critical. And then I say about at least every other month, do a date weekend. You have to reconnect. You have to reconnect emotionally, sexually, and just rebond.
What about those couples who say, we just don't have that kind of money?
It doesn't really take a whole lot. You don't have to go away for a weekend if you don't want to. But what you can do is
ship the kid off to grandma.
You bet.
Have a date at home, maybe. Even put the kid to bed and have the candlelight.
Yeah, find out if you have other friends that have kids, if they can stay over there. You have to have some time away from the kids. It's essential to do that. It's the only way you'll be able to get back, because you definitely don't want to be able to get and get very romantic and get into a position where all of a sudden you're interrupted. Just kind of ruins the whole situation.
A lot of kids get out of bed in the middle of the night and go into mom and daddy's room.
Yeah, because they want to go to bed. Yeah, they had a nightmare. So what you really need to do, and then sit down and talk with the husband, saying, ever since the child was born, you're not doing this. I need to know why.
Well, don't you think that, just like our first caller, that a lot of times women think these things but don't act on them because we're taught in collective consciousness again that it's about the man reaching out, and women wait for the man to reach out, and when he doesn't and she doesn't reach out too, she imagines rejection and then makes it a cycle, and it goes on and on.
And both parties do it. Both parties do it. Let's just say your husband has been working all day, he comes home and he's really tired. Well, you've had a really kind of a neat day and you're feeling kind of sexy and sensual, and you have a glass of wine, and all he wants to do is have a glass of wine and finish what he's doing and go to bed. That's it.
No, it's interesting. The more comfortable you get, the better you're able to communicate with that.
Right.
In my youth, I would never say to a man, "Can we have sex?" And I say that to my partner, can we have sex? And he kind of jumps up and down and says, okay.
Well, the jumping up and down part is really great. That's the most important part. But no, we don't communicate. We don't say what we want. We're afraid we might, again, we might be rejected. But the thing is that if you don't ask, you don't get. And if you don't get it anyhow, you weren't going to have it that night anyhow. So don't take it as, it's not personal. And we take everything so personal. So all I have to do is say, I really don't like this, and I'm really upset that you went ahead and bought such and such, or whatever happens to be. And it's going to hurt that other person's feelings. Well, that's up to that other person to have their feelings hurt or not. That's not what you're meant. You have to get to the point where you say, okay, I'm okay with him saying that. I'm okay with him saying that I'm not doing something he likes.
I guess the 4 agreements, that book, the 4 agreements, really applies to the bedroom. The 4 agreements: not to take things personally, not to assume, always to do your best. Those are what agreement am I missing? Don't take things personally, never assume, always do your best, and your word is power of your spoken word, like always be truthful. So those 4 things definitely,
the power of the word is also very, very important when it comes to sex, because the power of the word and what that you say in regard to your spouse or significant other is essential. All you have to do to a female is say, "Oh, are you putting on some weight?"
Yeah.
And she's going to withdraw and feel terrible. You know, all you have to do to him is say one word, and he's going to get as flaccid as can be, just by one word.
Yeah, there's responsibility. I think I was saying to Amadeus the other day that according to Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus in the Bedroom, which was actually a book he must have written with his wife because it was a good one. But anyway, you know, it's that women need to feel connected with their husbands first before they can have sex, and men feel connected with their wives after they have sex. And so that, you know, that energy ebb and flow. But if a man is smart, he'll compliment his wife, woman, regularly and make her feel good about herself, and then she's more likely to want to have sex. I'm told I'm pretty by Amadeus about 100 times a day.
If a man really wants to have sex, he will actually cuddle and touch and get her ready, because it takes a man approximately about 2 minutes to be able to ejaculate. It takes a woman about 5 to 6. So if he's smart, he will get the woman into a situation where she's feeling amorous, where she's feeling excited, where she's feeling all she wants to do is have him near her.
Why do most men think it's just about lips, tits, and clits?
Because they don't know any better. That's all that they've ever seen. You know, look at our movies.
So what would you advise to the males that are watching us tonight? To not do lips, tits, and clits. Like, you know, like that bump bump kind of thing.
You know, I get it from guys. Well, I don't like touching that much. I don't. You know something? Get over yourselves. You know, first of all, we all need to touch. So learn how to touch. Biggest thing that you can do for a woman is learn how to touch her, learn how to be able to say nice things, be able to compliment. Don't just all of a sudden say, hey, you know, baby, you look great, and go for the boobs. There's more to it. I literally tell guys to look at a wonderful, I think I told you about oming before, because I teach you how to use how to use the clitoris. I tell them also that if they want to please their wives, if they want to please their partners, that only 1 in 4 women have vaginal orgasms, and they're stunned. I said, so you can go ahead and basically stick it in and do whatever you want to until you come. She may not be able to have an orgasm that way. So in order to make sure that she does, you can kind of get her off first before you do anything. She'll be even more ready for you. So that's the whole thing. You know, talking about body parts, unless you're kidding around with it during sex, is not probably the best thing to do. You know, just men keep going back to their oral stage of wanting to suck. So that's about it.
Do you remember that video that was going around on Facebook where the man was just kissing the woman's neck for a long, long time? I don't know if any of the, you know, I don't know if we can Google that or whatever, but that was something that was going around Facebook for a while. That was an amazing video that made every woman swoon. The way the man was kissing that woman down her neck, and it was a good 3-minute video of just him kissing her and pulling like on her hair up and that kind of thing.
It's tender. It's exciting. There are areas on the body that you can touch that can just drive you wild, and doing that just basically causes the whole sexual act to become enhanced, heightened, stimulated. And you can do that. That's why even kissing all the way down, even if you want to suck on the side, but kissing all the way down, or stroking legs, or stroking the vaginal area, or the behind, or legs, everything. Kissing behind the knee, kissing in the elbow. All that really, really just helps with that sensation, that sensual aspect of being together.
It's the sensuality that women like.
Women like more sensuality and more intimacy, and men tend to think that all that they need is just to go at it, and that's it. And for most of the women I talk to, they say the biggest thing is that, well, yeah, we have sex, but he comes over and he basically has quick intercourse, turns around, farts, and goes to sleep. And you know, that's all he knows. He's never learned anything else, and she hasn't done anything to teach him any different. She doesn't tell him what appeals to her.
Speak to me about misogyny. Tell me how misogynists are created. How?
God, I don't think we have that much time in the world. How they're created normally because they see women as being weak.
Would you explain? Some people may not know what a misogynist is, other than they might watch someone on TV. That is
a different type of. No, a misogyny is normally a man that really cannot stand women. They hate women,
but act as if they love them. They turn them into objects of their referral. Correct?
Right. They literally almost put them on a pedestal so they don't have to deal with them. So, but they do. They'll do everything in their power to subjugate, to really hurt, harm, and they dislike women so much, or afraid of them. So I think it's more afraid than hate. That
if you Google misogyny, there'll be eight points of how to identify a misogynist, and usually it's a misogynist is someone that's well. I'm glad you shared that opinion, Duffy. But misogyny is usually created by a man that was shamed by his mother. Or another woman, maybe a teacher, and it moves into a place where they feel like they have to master a woman or win men or be masterfully involved with many women, right?
Well, they feel like they have to subjugate, yes. Whether they were shamed by women or not is not necessarily the question. Sometimes it's because they've never seen a woman with power, that their father was very mean or very let's say overpowering to the mom, and they became angry at it. So they became angry at all women because of that.
So is that misogyny can be part of a inherited factor?
Yeah.
Or is it through nature? Is it through nurture?
Oh, I believe that's pretty much nurture. I don't think that most people are born to hate. I think the only thing a person can literally be born with for a psychological problem, unless they have some severe brain damage before birth, is that there are people that are born social or psychopathic, and they're the ones that you have to really worry about, because they can be as charming as can be, but they hate everybody. So, but you'll find out that even the sociopath or psychopath will go after women first, because of the fact that, again, they put us as less than. And in a way, it's going back to early beginnings where a woman was not even considered human. We were as much chattel or owned by men than anything else, and it stems back to that. So if you have families where in fact, in a lot of very religious organizations, very fundamentalist organizations, you see a lot of misogyny, because it's more of an ownership that women do not mean anything, that they're not worthless, and so that's where a lot of misogyny comes in. You'll see it a lot in the Arab, because again, they're just for somebody's use. We're not worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And again, they feel that, yet they're afraid of us, because they believe that we can cause them to do things that they don't really want to do by our sexual attractions, and so that only causes them more distress.
Is there an opposite? Is there an opposite energy? Do women practice some form of?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
Okay. What is it called? When is it female misogyny? Is there a term?
I've never heard of a female word for it. I'll have to look that one up. So
ballbuster.
Pretty
I
much.
guess. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
much.
That's the word for it.
Yeah, there are women that could care less. All they want to do is be able to use them. Use a man. Not worth anything else. Just use them. They don't necessarily love them. They don't really like them. They could care less about being around them. But as long as that man provides what she wants. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same.
So is that created the same way as misogyny? Pretty much. It's something from nurture?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's going to be a guess. I don't know how anybody could actually say that is definitely nurture or nature, but I think whenever you grow up, with a father that is abusive or whatever, you'll find a lot of women that really dislike or hate men because of more of a fear.
What if you're raised in a family where the mother is a man-hater, so she doesn't engage with her husband in an appropriate way? What happens to the daughters then?
You know, you're asking a question that is individual.
Okay.
It can be a number of things. The daughter may take on the caretaker role for the father because the mother's such a bitch. And chances are, if that mother is a bitch to the father, she's also to the children. So she becomes this ogre as such, and so the child will normally protect the father, and so we'll start doing the mother figure to the dad, protecting.
What do you say to a couple that haven't had sex in 10 years? I've got couples like that, and they haven't had sex in 10 years or 12 years or 5 years or 4 years, or they have sex twice a year. What do you say to couples like that? And they claim that they have a happy marriage. Do you agree that they have a happy marriage, or are they covering something up, or is it important always to have sex in a relationship?
No, it isn't. You know, if they have a loving relationship, and that's fine. Some people are more, I mean, just like some women are more feminine than others. Some women are more masculine than others, but they still are heterosexual. Same thing with men. There are same things with sex. I like it, it's okay, but you know, it's not that important to me.
So as long as there's matching libidos,
right,
it doesn't matter. Because
yeah.
I don't want people to be watching us and say, well, we're happy, and but
we don't
we're
have
okay
to,
having sex once a month. I mean, what are these two old
There-
broads talking about tonight?
No, there's nothing wrong with it either way. If you are happy in your relationship that way, that's perfectly fine. The problem is when one is okay and the other is not. That's where the problems come in. I know a lot of couples that are just perfectly fine. They've worked hard all their lives. Their kids are gone, and she could care less and he could care less. He'd rather go out and go golfing or do whatever, and just they maintain more of a friendship. They have more of a camaraderie.
Well, I think you just said something interesting, and you mentioned this a couple times tonight, and that is that we don't play in the bedroom. We play cards, we play golf, we bowl, we play tennis, we play all kinds of games and all that. But when it comes to playing with each other in the bedroom, that's where people stop short and don't allow themselves to have fun and joy and that kind of connection.
It's supposed to be hid. It's supposed to be there. You're not supposed to be able to have fun. Sex is still considered a sin, evil, shameful, all of that kind of stuff. So a lot of us still have that in the back of our minds, that even though we're enjoying it, is that subconscious mind that I'm not really supposed to be enjoying this. I love it, but I'm not supposed to be enjoying it. So
right. I was raised in a non-sexual household, and so it took me a bit of time, and I swore I would not raise my kids that way, and so I didn't. And I was very blessed that all three of my children came to me when they were ready and talked to me about it. But I must tell you a hilarious story. I had a client that I had been working with for a while, and she fell on some hard times. So she decided that she was going to sell sex toys for a living, have these parties. And she said to me one day, "Can I barter with you?" And I said, "Of course you can barter with me." So she brought a shopping bag in filled with sex toys, enough sex toys to last me about 300 years, right? So I took the sex toys home and I put them on my bed, threw them all out on my bed, and I called my kids and my sister and brother-in-law, and everybody came over to my house and took what they wanted. And there's my kids. There's my kids on mom's bed going, "Oh, well, I want that one. No, I want that one." It was really hilarious because we were so open, and they have, a better ability in that regard because they had a parent that allowed them to feel like that was okay.
If every time if you mention sex and you're told to go away to we don't talk about this, then there's a problem. We raise kids that way. If they where do babies come from? All of a sudden, mom and dad start to go absolutely nuts. They get up Grey's Anatomy and they want to go through the whole thing, and they just want to know, do they come from Cincinnati or do they?
My grandson said to me once, where does the baby come from? And my daughter and I were laying on my bed with him, and he said, Grandma, how does the baby get in the mama's stomach?
Mhm.
And I said, oh, sweetheart, the daddy puts it there. And my daughter took a deep breath. What is my mother going to say now, right? And he said to me, well, how does he do that? And I said, well, honey, with all the love he has for the mama. He said, oh, and that was that.
Yeah.
Because if you tell kids the truth at whatever age they're able to handle it, they'll be okay.
No, I had a friend's son we were talking about impotence, and he didn't know what it was. And Mom just got nuts, and Dad. Little kids should be seen and not heard. And I said, yeah, come here. I said, impotence is just when a man can't have a baby. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No big deal.
There you go.
Simple,
simple answers.
Simple answers.
Well, maybe we have to do simple answers with each other when we're talking about sex and take it out of that place of being taboo and start really communicating about it.
Well, do that. In fact, ironically, and on my Facebook, I write a question every day, and my question today was about sex education, because one of the largest internet porn sites is now starting to do sex education classes. And so my question was, how do you feel about, you or your kid or your teenagers getting information on sex education on a porn site?
Does porn have a place?
Porn does have a place, but porn, like anything else, can become addictive. Again, if you're with somebody you love and you put on a tape because it looks fun, exciting, whatever, it makes you feel better, you kind of laugh together, you kind of play, yeah, it can be fun. If that's all you look at, no. So everything has its balances here.
That's the operative word, is balance. Duffy, do you want to give everybody your Facebook page?
Okay. And my Facebook page is just Duffy McMahon.
Spell McMahon for them.
McMahon, McMahon. My website is drduffy.com, DoctorDuffy.com. And I'm getting a brand new phone number, so you're going to be able to call Izzy if you want to be able to get in touch with me.
And that's 480-755-0222 here at the Empowered Living Center.
Yeah.
And Dr. Duffy is going to be doing some classes here at the Empowered Living Center with some specific topics that we will be happy to share with you as they come along.
Yeah, I do a lot of work when it talks about intimacy, how to be able to be intimate with your partner, with your friend.
What are the top three?
The top three of the classes?
No, top three of how to be intimate with your partner.
Oh, touch, number one. Kissing goes with the touch.
It's all about the kiss, right? Isn't that the song?
Yeah,
it's in the kiss.
It's in the kiss.
Okay.
The kissing is very important. The touching, the rubbing, the holding, the being open. So that when it comes to intimacy, it's allowing yourself freedom. It's allowing yourself to get out of your head into your body and to enjoy what's going on. So if you're ticklish, you're ticklish. If he's rubbing you and you start to laugh, that's great. If he does it too much, then just tell him to stop. But again, so it's that touching, it's that kidding around, it's that playfulness. So that is part of intimacy. Intimacy can also be just talking. Some of the most wonderful kind of sexual evenings I've had with no sex whatsoever have been conversations. Wonderful, deep conversations about just beliefs, about philosophies, about...
Don't we forget to do that with our partners? We forget to really talk. Like the stimulating kind of conversation that we can get when we're at a party or out with a friend or whatever. Do we forget to be intimate with our partner? Yeah. In conversation.
One of my favorite words is sapiosexual, and that is being sexual with a person basically on their intellect.
Which is something that I've labeled myself, as Duffy knows, because I've said to her I'm a sapiosexual before. Right. Because if I don't have intellectual stimulation, I'm not interested.
Yeah. I'm the same way. And I can have sexual stimulations with somebody as a friend without having sex too. So it goes the same way. But we sometimes forget that our partners have opinions and can be interesting. Sometimes we think we know them so well that if I say, something, honey, I just read this part in a magazine and I don't know if I really agree with it. What do you think? And ask questions. We don't ask questions of our significant others. We don't find out what they're feeling or what they're thinking. So, but that's as important as anything else. We all need, just as people, to feel like we're respected, like we're needed, like we're loved. That's a big part of who we are. And especially when it comes to having an intimate relationship with somebody.
Respect.
Always
respect. Tell me, Duffy, why are so many people going back to their high school sweethearts? What is that?
Oh.
This new age of Facebook, and I have so many clients that are now leaving their wife or their husband because they rehooked up with that high school sweetheart. And what is it about that?
Well, I see my high school sweetheart every once in a while, and so in fact I'm going to be seeing him in about 2 weeks. No, I think what it does is it takes you back to a period of time that you feel you've lost. And
is it about feeling young again?
It's about feeling young. It's also about somebody that knew you when you were a kid. Okay? It's about somebody you can talk to that hopefully remembers all of the funny things, that doesn't have a whole lot of notches in the stump over the years. So it's all new. Although you have this sense, this mindset that I really loved him back there and everything was wonderful and I don't know why we didn't get together. But then all of a sudden, even after you get together, 40 years can be a long time.
Is it ego, the one that got away?
Can be. It can be. I just wonder what it's going to be like. It can be just plain curiosity. I wonder what happened to him. I wonder what's different. I wonder if we would get along. My ex-boyfriend, or my boyfriend Richard, who I actually see, I told him once before. He said, "What happened?" Because we were engaged. And I said, "We fought so much whenever we were going out together." I said, "We would have killed each other by now. Give us some time. We'll do it. We'll try to, we'll kill each other again." Because we just, our personalities were such that we just drove each other nuts. We loved each other, but we drove each other's nuts. Couldn't be married on a bed.
My high school sweetheart is the father of my 3 children. So I have no desire to go back there.
No.
So I just wondered what it was about people, that maybe their first sexual experience is something that they, hold in their heart as the thing, or what?
I still think it's really taken you back to a time that you always remember as something special. Okay? So when you are young and it's a first love, it's a time that you remember so fondly that to try to rekindle it is, again, mainly because you're missing something.
I could spend another hour with you. I want to talk to you for a minute about kids that are sexting. Like, what is the driving force around, like I'm talking about kids that are 12 and 13, Duffy, that are sexting.
Yeah.
And how does a kid at 12 or I was playing with Barbie dolls until I was 14. How does a kid at 12 or 13, I realize I'm ancient, everybody, get to the place where they're sexting at 12
because
and 13?
Because they don't think it's a big deal. They have no concept. They have no concept about what's going to go on or what effect it will have. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have the phones. We didn't have all the things that they've got today to be able to do stupid things with. Okay? First of all, whenever you become a teenager, you become stupid. Okay? You're trying to learn how to be able to grow up. So you do things, you think you're invincible, you think that all these different things won't make any difference in your life. So you do this. You think it's funny. They see it on television. They see it in movies. It becomes as a part of our
it's all collective consciousness stuff.
Right.
So, but you know what I found is that the other kids that aren't doing that then start threatening or putting that out there in other ways, or putting it on Facebook. Whatever they do, and they use it as a bullying tactic. It causes a lot of depression. I mean, it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. We don't know what to do with it. That's the biggest problem. We don't know what to do with it. We don't know what to do about the internet's problems. Just like we didn't know what to do with the kids. You know, you get on a porn site that says, "Are you 18?" Sure. There's no way to cover it. There's no way to be able to say, "Oh, I don't do that." Parents don't really know how to supervise their kids either, and that's another thing. Kids rule the roost. I mean, you see it, I know, because we've talked about the fact that you have parents out there, and whatever the child wants, the child gets. The child is actually the ruler of the house. So they're not getting any type of learning experience that says, this is wrong. Mm-hmm. You don't do this. You know, we were raised to say, okay, if you do this, you don't do anything to hurt anybody. You don't do anything to, if you were to say something hateful to somebody, you know, you would get in trouble. You don't do that. That's not polite. It's not this. We don't teach how to be polite. We don't teach we don't teach any type of etiquette. So we have this group of kids that have no boundaries in that area, and they don't see anything right or wrong with it. Mm-hmm. Or anything wrong. They think, oh, it's perfectly fine. Do you think that if the parents are letting them watch too many like R-rated movies and they think it's benign, that leads to that kind of behavior? Well, it's not just R-rated movies. One of the biggest television shows that went on for a while was Glee. You know, fun, music, everything else, but they had kids having sex, and this is high school. So, you know, and then we turn around and say, oh, abstinence is what you have to do. We don't teach sex education. Mm-hmm. We don't teach that anything of this is wrong or what any of the consequences will be. And if you don't have consequences for actions, then it's going to keep on happening. Mm-hmm. But again, our television is such that, you know, it's no longer Father Knows Best or Leave It to Beaver or, you know, even Andy Griffith's show. It's not that. It's not
We're
that.
aging ourselves again, everybody.
Well, you know, it's not even
about Bewitched or
you know.
Let's see, what was in the 70s? I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Three's Company. Yeah. Oh, well, that was kind of like.
Yeah, but again, they never had sex. None of them. You know, they would do a lot of innuendos and a lot of different things. I mean, even the 80s, you didn't have that much sex. Mm-hmm. But we started out. We went to the 80s and kept on showing how stupid parents were. That was a big problem.
Mm-hmm. Is sex better for people who are older?
It's different. I can't say better because it's just different. I think as you age, you find different aspects of it. I think when you're young, you love the novelty, the fun, the excitement, and so forth. Not that you don't have it when you get older, you just have it differently. So I think I just wondered if when you get older, you have more freedom, and so that gives you a more, you know, license to do what you want. You have more freedom. You also have more experience. So you also have, as you age, you have more of a sense of yourself, hopefully, and say, this is what I would really like. You know, in spiritual circles, they talk about if you're having sex with somebody, you're actually having sex with every partner that they've ever had. Mm-hmm. Yep. Because the energy is part of the whole, you know. You bet. Well, so the energy is, but there are aspects of it that you can go, you know, this is not the gift that keeps on giving. You have to be you have to be careful about, you know, I'm a firm one that says, okay, if you are having, you know, sex that is or multiple partners, you have to be careful. From the time we've had AIDS, there's now a strain of gonorrhea going around that is antibiotic resistant. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure that's. Do you know where the biggest incidences of venereal disease is going around? It's actually in the Villages, which is a retirement city in Florida. In Florida. Yeah, my cousins live there. Here in Phoenix, Sun City. Yeah. It's also the largest. The old people. Yeah, it's also the largest incidence of increases in STIs and STDs, and it's because we weren't raised with prophylactics being the normal. Today, more kids learn about that and should. And when it comes to sex, anything that you want to do sexually should be fine as long as it is consensual, it is legal, and you don't hurt anybody. So that's the biggest part when it comes to sex. So if you're going to be having sex with multiple partners, great, enjoy it if that's what you want. There's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure that you are safe, that your partner is safe, that it's consensual, and that you have a good time. And like I said, you don't want to pass on that gift that keeps on giving. So that's a big part of it.
All right. Well, this has been an exciting Valentine's conversation with Dr. Duffy McMahon.
I expect you all to have a very nice time in bed tonight and just enjoy the experience.
And I just want to remind you once again to pop on my website that Dr. Emil Faith and I will be at Storm Wisdom on March 26th. And we are going to do readings, both of us. He's a medical medium, and we'll also be doing some workshop work. That's going to be awesome. And again, telling you that we will be in Vegas. Did you know I'm going to Vegas to do some work? And that's going to be fun. And back to LA for, I'm going to be working in California
all over the place.
Quite
That's
a bit.
Great.
Yeah, so that's going to be awesome too. So
and anybody wants to get in touch with me to say, okay, I need to talk about some of these things, call the office here. It's 480-755-0222.
So absolutely. And again, I do think that Duffy will be doing some teaching here at the Empowered Living Center and having specific, questions, specific topics to discuss. If you have any questions about that, get a hold of Christina, and also let Christina know if you've got a subject that you'd like her to teach on. She'd be happy to pass that information along to Duffy. Now, I had told you that we were going to have some angel stuff coming up, and I actually have to postpone that till March 22nd, where we're going to have Courtney Long, who is an angel reader, come and do some angel readings. And so that's going to be exciting. And next week is going to be a night of readings. And so call in, have your questions ready for me, and I'll be doing some readings that night. And well, thank you, Duffy. Everybody have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Good night.
And as I used to say,